Hey guys, this is Glorious Fruit back at it, another episode review of The Last of Us. So this today's episode was amazing. I got hyped. I was so ready for this episode, and we'll get to it why. And so in the very beginning of the episode, you get to see like a backstory of Fedra, the Kansas City QZ zone falling apart. And so you have people who were watched over Fedra, they fight back and they take out Fedra, which is really cool to see because in the game, Joel and Ellie never experienced that. You only find like letters of what happened, the fall, the fall of QZ zones, or like small talks. And so that's cool to see like as a backstory. And so you have Henry and Sam trying to hide, and you're wondering why, because in previous episode Kathleen was obsessed of looking for Henry because she was also ignoring a certain scene in a clip that I showed, or I think it was either a clip or an image that I showed, where the floor is like bloating up and down, and for sure you can tell those were in the infected underground. But anyways, going back to what I was just saying about Henry and Sam, they end up running away. They hid in a ceiling that a friend they had, I forgot his name, but he's not too relevant. You only see him in the beginning of the previous episode. He got shot down, and then this episode, I guess he's friends with Henry, and they hid in that ceiling room because that old guy did a favor for Fedra, and that's how nobody knew about it, because the Fedra soldier kept it to himself. And so you have Henry and Sam waiting it out for 10 days until finally they decide to leave, because their friend was possibly dead, and for sure we know he's dead because he got shot down by Kathleen. And so they leave, and then they witness Joel's fight, taking out some of the people that were under Kathleen's wing. And so instead of leaving, Henry had the idea of following Joel and Ellie, because his idea is basically the next best thing they could do is and stick with them, because their chances of survival increases in hopes if they do get to go with them. And so another thing to point out is that this version of Henry is completely different from the video game Henry. And why do I say that? Is because the video game Henry is more of a survivalist. He's like Joel. He'll do anything to keep Sam safe, just like how Joel will keep Ellie safe from any danger. And they'll shoot their way out from any raiders or any infected. And so the show version is basically he will still do anything to keep Sam safe, but he didn't really fight his way through it compared to the game. And so this is I guess a weird version of Henry, like not entirely survivalist, but he will do anything for Henry. I'm not Henry, for Sam. And so we got that. And so this next scene where when Kathleen is talking to this other guy, I forgot his name, but he's not that important, but because they're both episodic characters. But yeah, they captured some people that ratted out to Fedra. They gave them information, and they received some type of gifts for giving out information to whatever people decide to do whatever against Fedra rules. And so Kathleen is obsessed of looking for Henry, and you don't know just yet until Henry explains it to Joel, and I'll get to it. And so basically she just lied to them. Basically she said that, hey, if anyone tells me where Henry is, your sentence will be much lighter. Your punishment will be different. But for those of you, you're all guilty anyways, and you'll just die anyways. And so someone does speak out, mentions where Henry could have been, and and where who he would have talked to. And so that happened, and then she talked to this guy over here. And in the end, she just killed all of them. And so you get the sense of how much power she has, where like she commands it, and then the rest would follow. And so she's a scary person, just just alone, just how much power she holds. And so yeah, and so I already mentioned it, but like Henry is like hiding out in the ceiling, and you so have all these images of Sam drawing on the walls, it whatnot, and so you like Sam like images himself as a hero fighting against all the bad dudes. And so this is a different version of like like a different relationship version of Henry and Sam, because as I mentioned earlier in the video game version, where like Henry was a survivalist, Henry and Sam only carried what was necessary. There wasn't really any playtime. It's about trying to survive and be aware of your surroundings. And so this is like a more like a fatherly version of Henry, where he's more loosened up with Sam. And so, and then also this version of Sam, he can't speak very well. So the way Henry and Sam communicate is sign language. And so I will have a clip of them, doing sign language. They have their bonding moments together. And finally penning to the point where Sam and Henry get to the building where Ellie and Joel, I combined their names together, but Ellie and Joel were sleeping, and so they sneak their way in, and Sam and Henry pointing guns at Ellie and Joel, and so Henry had a proposition. They want to go along with them, but they're not going to kill them or anything. In hopes, and they were to lower their gun, in hopes of like, this is an agreement that they will agree to, that they'll go together to get out of Kansas City, away from all the bad dudes. And so they have their little small dinner, and the next scene is the plan of how to get out to Kansas City. And so Henry basically talks about why the rest of the soldiers are looking out for him. Why they're trying to find them. He mentions that he also was an informant of Fedra. Basically, he ratted out someone in order to survive. But he doesn't go forward of the rest of the information. And so the next part is the plan of how to get out to Kansas City. So instead of going, across the city, they decide to go to under the tunnels. And so, and this is all based on information of what Henry knows of, like, Fedra pushed down all the infected under the tunnels. And Henry is going based on the assumption that they cleaned out the area like months ago or weeks ago. And so they make their attempt. They now go to the tunnels, and this cool Easter egg they included is the drawing of a castle, like basically kids' drawings, like paint or chalk, whatever they used. Basically, in the game, they after running like going across the city away from these raiders, they ended up going under the sewage, and where there's a place where people lived underground away from the infected. And it started out with Ish. Ish was a character that you don't meet, but you read letters of what Ish did over the time over the like after the outbreak. And so that's a cool Easter egg. And so you see how they took care of children, and how they try to keep a civilized, like I guess a safe environment for children, for them to grow up. But looking at how empty it is, it seemed like it didn't work out. It didn't like, and in the end it just like stopped happening because maybe one of them was infected or something, or they got raided. In the game, you find out that there was someone infected and a bunch of people were infected, and then basically everybody died, and that's that. And so here, this drawing is another Easter egg about Ish being one of the protectors. I don't know the other person, but like in the game, there's these letters that you would find in the tunnels, and it's just like Ish's journal of what they did during those times under the tunnels. Another Easter egg is the Savage Starlight. They're comic books that in the game, I mean, they don't go in any emphasis on it. It's just basically little trophies that you find, collections that you find over through the game. In the show, they use that same thing where Ellie and Sam they find a connection between each other, that they have their hobbies where they read Starlight. And I'll play a clip of their famous quote in the comic book.
To the edge of the universe and back, endure and survive. Endure, survive. Endure, survive.
And then so Ellie and Sam, they start talking about how many issues they have, and you get their moments of playing with each other. They're playing like their small version of soccer, or actually, I don't know why I'm saying soccer. It's football. It's football. And so they're enjoying their moments. Same thing happens in the game. They have their little mini games. Another point to mention in the game, Sam is much older. He's able to speak. He's like a healthy child, and so I guess he's like maybe a year or a couple of years away from Ellie. And so, but there, like he like has a small crush on her because this is his first time meeting a girl that it's similar to his age. In the show version, he's 8 years old, and so he's way like six or roughly maybe 6 years away from like 6 years age difference. And so there's that. And also you find out that in this scene where Henry and Joel have their conversation, where Sam developed leukemia and he needed medicine. And so back when they were under the rules of Fedra, he obtained a medicine that could help Sam, his help him, cure him or whatnot. We don't know if Sam was cured or not. We just know that he couldn't speak and he used sign language to talk with Henry, or he used his little whiteboard thing. But anyways, the way Henry could get more medicine was to inform Fedra about Caitlin's brother, the big hero that Henry looked up to, and it was the only way that he could get more medicine. So he did what he had to do. I I guess maybe we need to make the assumptions because I don't quite remember, even though it was like maybe just not too long ago since I watched the episode. But I guess maybe Caitlin's brother was an inspiration to rise up against Fedra, because Fedra are these cruel people that over time they just power just got in their heads and treated people whatever the way they wanted to. And so the next scene, you have Caitlin inside the bedroom she grew up with her brother, and she admitted that in the last moments with her brother, that he accepted his death, that he forgives Henry what he did and why he did it, for wanting to help Sam, for wanting to cure Sam. But for her, she doesn't accept that. So she's filled with revenge and rage. She's like, no one's gonna stop her from doing what she wants to do, and she does pay for that later, and we'll get to it. And so we pan to the next scene where Ellie, Sam, Joel, and Henry are on the way out walking, and they're talking and they're having no flashlights just so they won't be spotted by anyone getting any attention. And then there's this another Easter egg, which is I was wondering if they were gonna keep that in the show or do something else. So there's this home. I don't know. It's very visible in the image where there's home, and there's a sniper on top sniping them. And so that happens in the game where after they escape from the raiders, they ended up finding more on their way towards the radio tower. And so Joel ends up uh, running up to that home where the sniper was, just so he could take him out. And so he meets this old man. Joel basically begs to like not don't make him like shoot him, but in the end, they Joel shoots him, and he turned out to be one of Caitlin's groups, and so he already informed her that Henry and Joel were there, and then this next scene, basically everybody from the QZ zone is now coming after them, and Joel is like keeping a watch, ready to shoot, and then Caitlin comes out asking for Henry to come out, and Henry begs that like okay he'll come out but let Ellie and Sam leave. And Caitlin, as cruel as she is, she said no. One, Ellie is with the man that shot some of her men, so she can't let Joel run out. And the kids, whatever, what like kids die every day, and that's her perspective. And so you can see how much she doesn't give a damn. And then Sam asked Ellie to take, not Sam, Henry asked Ellie to take Sam and run away the moment he pops out. And so he does. And then as soon as Caitlin gets ready to shoot, then the best thing ever. So when Joel shot a vehicle and it crashed in one of the homes, it got the attention of all the infected, and so all the infected are running out, and I'll show a clip here. And so, like, I didn't know how many clips of seconds I should do for the scene because it was absolutely amazing. Man, we haven't gotten a lot of action in the show, and I still love the show. It's been entertaining, but was the highlight of the show, the highlight of this episode. It was amazing. And so
Find cover. Don't look back.
you get the bloater coming out. I mean, you don't get. I don't know if we could say if he's exactly a bloater, because the characteristic of a bloater in the game, he rips a piece off of himself and throws a piece of himself, and it just explodes of spores. And the only reason why I don't think they included that is because the show already explained the whole spore idea, like it didn't make sense, and so they went the idea of these vine legs that if you step on them or kill like an infected, that all the infected would come towards you. And so I think this is why they never included the whole spore thing where the bloater rips a piece of himself and throws it at you. But it was just amazing because you just see the power of the bloater, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And so Joel's covering for Ellie, and Ellie runs towards Sam and Henry because they're under the truck. And so eventually Sam and Ellie, not Sam and Ellie, Ellie helps Sam and Henry while Joel is like having Ellie's back. And then this scene is basically the final duel of Caitlin and Henry. Kaylin's ready to shoot down Henry, but then this scene, I recorded this scene because I think it's pretty much like karma, because for one, in the previous episode I showed a clip of, or an image, Kaylin ignored the whole infected underground, that there were infected underground, and instead of taking care of that problem, she was obsessed of looking for Henry because the death of her brother, and she would not let that go until that was taken care of. And so she basically paid the price for it, and she dies. And here's the scene of that. And so the rest of the infected, including a bloater, runs towards the city, along with the many few survivors that may or may not have been bitten already by the infected, towards the Kansas City quarantine zone. So most likely, we can assume that that QZ zone that they just barely taken over 10 days ago might just go gone. And so this is a scene where Joel, Ellie, Henry, and Sam, they spend the night over an apartment. They're talking it out after the experience. Joel had the idea of wanting to take Henry and Sam to Wyoming, and it'll be a good place for them. Henry agrees it'll be best for Sam to have a safe home. And then you have their Ellie and Sam moments of together, talking it out, reading the comic book still, the Savage Starlight, I believe it was. And so Henry asks Sam to go to sleep, and then closes the door. Then Sam fixes sleep and then gets up again to talk to Ellie. And then basically this conversation is like an Easter egg of its own, because it's pulled out from the game, the dialogues of Sam is asking, is Ellie scared, or what is she scared of? Ellie jokingly says that she's scared of scorpions, and then she finally admits she's scared of being alone. And then Henry speaks out to, or writes down, that he's scared of becoming one of the infected, and then that's where it ends the dialogue. And so they did things different in this one, because in the game the next day, Sam finds out, no, not Sam, Henry, Ellie finds out that Sam is infected, and attacks her. In this version, Sam shows his bite mark on his ankle, and Ellie freaks out a bit, and so she quickly writes, well, no, but before she writes, she shows her bite mark that she got the same thing. Sam freaks out, and Ellie says no, it's like she is the cure. And then she pulls out a knife, or cuts herself with this desperate attempt to wanting to save Sam, and puts some of her blood onto the bitten ankle in hopes that it would cure Sam. And so Sam asks for Ellie to stay awake with her for the majority of the night, to pull off all this all-nighter, in hopes that Sam will be okay the next day. And so they hug it out, and then the next day happens. Ellie wakes up, and you see Sam just sitting on his bed. Ellie walks towards Sam, and I'll show this quick clip of Sam attacking Ellie, because it's still the same results. And then Henry makes this quick decision. Joel was about to shoot Sam, but Henry takes the gun away from him, and then points the gun at Sam, while Sam is busy attacking Ellie, and shoots Sam. And then he's in this state of shock of what they just do, pointing the gun at Ellie and Joel. Joel is trying to like keep him calm, wanting to take the gun from him, and then in the end, Henry takes his own life. And then Joel and Ellie, they bury them, and where in the game you don't see them doing that. You know, they just go off in the next scene, and they just talk about it a little bit. Ellie leaves Sam's little paper whiteboard with the word sorry, and I believe she's basically apologizing for is that in the night when she found out Sam was bitten, she had this big hope that with her blood she could cure Sam, and in hopes that he would not turn infected. And so it turns out that it did not happen that way. He still ended up infected. And then she's walking off from the distance because she asks where's West, and so they going off to Wyoming. And you know, that's the end of it. And so in the previews it shows that Ellie and Joel make it to Wyoming, and they meet up with Joel's brother Tommy. And I'm hoping that those are also action packed episodes, because a lot of stuff's happened as well in the game. In the game they deal with people in the infected, and then who knows what the show will do. They might do the same thing, but for sure they'll be fighting people. And so I can't wait for those episodes as well, because from this point on there should be a lot of action, and even probably some emotional connections between Joel and Ellie, because from that point on in the game as well, they had their connection, the relationship as an adult and child grows, where Joel finds himself being more of a father figure to Ellie, and now he's grown this attachment with Ellie. Ellie's also grown this attachment with Joel, and so I can't wait for what they'll show in the show. And I think that's it with this episode of my review. I loved it. I think this is pretty amazing with what they did with this episode, and I can't wait to see until February 19. Sadly, we gotta wait a little longer, but you know, it's worth the wait. And so, as always, if you guys enjoyed my video, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe if you have not subscribed. And I appreciate it all. I like doing these videos, and I hope to grow this community, and hope to share more video reviews for this show later on. I will be streaming, depending how long I take to edit this video. But yeah, sometime tonight. All right, see you guys.